Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to jump into some Neo-Riemannian transformations. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a really cool theory that explains some of the most epic chord progressions that we've heard in film music and classical music and all kinds of stuff. We're going to look at some examples from film music, but then we're going to talk about the theory and eventually get to the point where we can start using Neo-Riemannian theory to write our own epic chord progressions. So let's get into it now. The first thing I want to do is play a couple examples. You may recognize these. Let's take a listen. I love it. The Fellowship theme from The Lord of the Rings. This is such an iconic chord progression, and it moves from the major triad, major 1 chord, to the major flat 3 chord, which is a third away from the home chord, C major. Let's listen to it one more time because I think it's just so cool. Okay, we're going to come back to that and we're going to talk a little bit about how those chords are related, but let's take a listen to another kind of similar example, but also very familiar. This one, so menacing. This one takes the minor 1 triad and it moves from minor 1 to minor flat 6, which is really cool. It's such a distant harmony, but it's perfect for capturing the menacing quality of Darth Vader. So both of these examples are examples of chords that move back and forth to what's known as a chromatic median. And this is the kind of basic music theory concept that we have to understand before we get into what Neo-Riemannian theory is. So let's take a listen, or let's take a look at chromatic medians, mediant relationship chords, and see what all that means. Okay, so first of all, let's talk a little bit about mediant-related chords. If I take a chord like C major, and I keep 2 pitches in common but move to another triad, E minor, which has E and G as common tones, those 2 chords are said to be related by mediant relationship. Mediant just means like they're related by third. If we wanted to use just 1 tone in common, then we call that a chromatic median. So moving from C major to E flat major has 1 common tone. That G is in common with both of those chords. We call that a chromatic median relationship. Okay, so let's rewind just a little bit. Neo-Riemannian theory is this subfield of music theory in which music theorists are looking at the ways in which triads are related to other triads. Actually, some theorists have taken this to like other dissonant harmony, so it does extend beyond just triads. But we're going to talk about kind of the baseline music theory in Neo-Riemannian theory, which takes triads and shows how they're related to each other through 3 basic types of transformations. Neo-Riemannian theory is named after Hugo Riemann, who was this German music theorist kind of at the end of the 1800s. And these theories are based on some kind of musicology work that he did, but updated and kind of a little bit more refined. So we call it Neo-Riemannian theory. So Neo-Riemannian theorists have basically systematized the way in which triads can move to other triads through really minimal voice leading. In fact, when we looked at mediants a minute ago, we saw that mediant-related chords have 2 common tones, so only 1 of the tones need to move. And even chromatic medians have 1 common tone, so that leaves 2 other tones that have to move. But these are like minimal voice leading that happens between 1 chord and the next. So the basic transformations that take 1 chord to another chord with only 1 note having to move are as follows. We have the parallel transformation or P transformation, and this one's the easiest. It's like when we just take any triad and we move it to its parallel major or minor. So for example, we have C major. The P transformation takes us from C major to C minor. Only one tone moves, and it moves by half step, and the root stays the same. So C major to C minor is a P transformation. A minor to A major is a P transformation. That's the parallel transformation. Okay, so let's talk about the second kind of transformation, which is the relative transformation, or R transformation. This takes us from a major to a minor triad, or from a minor to a major triad, by moving one tone a whole step. So for example, from C major to A minor, those two keys are relative, so this is the relative transformation by moving one pitch a whole step. Okay, the third transformation is something that's called the leading tone exchange, or the L transformation. This one's really cool. If we go from C major to E minor, we basically swap out the root of C major for its leading tone, B, and we now have E minor. When we're trying to go from a minor triad to a major triad with the L transformation, we actually take the fifth of the minor triad and move it up a half step. So think about C minor. If we're going to move that through an L transformation, we take the fifth, G, up a half step to A flat, and we have C minor to A flat. And so this is the L transformation. This works in kind of reverse of the root movement as the R transformation does. When we move from a major triad to a minor triad through the L transformation, the root moves up a third. And when we go from a minor triad to a major triad, the root moves down a third. Three different transformations: the P transformation, R transformation, and the L transformation. And these are the only transformations that are needed for moving to any mediant-related chord. Okay, so let's talk about this cool chart called the Tonnetz, which is German for tone network. This is a really cool chart that shows all of the triads that we have, and it places them kind of in relative position to all of the triads that they are related to through one of these transformations. So let's take a quick look at this chart here. Okay, so let's first say that on this chart, every triangle is what we kind of want to orient our eyes to. All of the red or pink triangles, those are major triads. And you can see that each corner of the triangle is a different note of that triad. So look at C major, for example. We have C, E, and G that are all forming the corners of that C major triad. Minor triads are all in blue. And so you can see C minor here, which has C, E flat, and G, and those are on the corners of this minor triangle, the blue triangle. Okay, so the other cool thing about this chart is that each triangle has three sides to it, right? And each side of that triangle shows a different Neo-Riemannian transformations. So let's go back to C major. And what we can see here is that if we wanted to do the parallel transformation, we would move up from C major immediately over to C minor. And so when we move from like a red triangle up to a blue triangle through that horizontal line, that is the P transformation. The R transformation is moving kind of down to the left. So we have C, E, G here, and we see if we move through that side on the lower left-hand side of that triangle, we get to the relative minor triad of C major, A minor. And so that leaves us with the leading tone exchange, which moves us down to the right. C major moves to E minor through that side of the triangle. All right, so this is all kind of summarized on the bottom left of your screen here. You can see those different relationships as they appear between red and blue triangles, between major and minor triads. So one thing is that all of these relationships show mediant relationships. If we want to show chromatic median relationships, then we use combinations of these transformations. So maybe we'll do P and then R, and we get different kinds of transformations that way. Remember the Fellowship of the Rings theme, which goes from major 1, so C major, to major flat 3, E flat major. So let's see what the shortest distance is between C major and E flat major on our Tonnetz chart here. So I see C major, and if we wanted to go to E flat major, which is kind of up to the right of that, first we have to do a parallel transformation, C major to C minor, and then we do a relative transformation, C minor to E flat major. And so those two chords are then related by a PR transformation. All right, so how do we use this kind of cool theory for writing our own epic harmonic progressions? Well, one way that we could do this is by looking at our Tonnetz chart and actually just trying out different chord progressions as they appear on the page. So the first one I'm going to do is kind of just start with C major, and I'm going to move over to the right on the Tonnetz chart. So we're going to move from C to E minor, then it goes to G major, then to B minor, and so on. I really like that harmonic progression. And you can see that if you use this kind of technique to make your harmonic progressions, then you get triads that are actually pretty distantly related to each other, but they are related through the voice leading, which I think is kind of exciting. It makes those chords sound related, even though they're pretty distant from each other in terms of where they are in the scale. Okay, so now I want to give you a challenge. Try this out on your own. Take a look at this chart. I've linked to the Wikipedia page that I found it on right below so you can see it for yourself. And try to navigate your way through this chart by different combinations of transformations. And I challenge you, find a really awesome chord progression and put it in the comments. I will look at it, and I think that would be really cool for us to share some of those different chord progressions. Thanks so much. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe, because I am making a video every single week on a different music theory topic that can help you be a better student and a better composer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.